Okay, well, hello. Welcome back for part two of my demo tutorials for my spring classes. Today we're going to look a little bit at some of the concepts that we'll go over in the subtle changes classes, which is also happening Monday evenings. So if you missed the tutorial yesterday where we were talking about skills for improv, then you can check that out. I also put up a demo on Facebook that sort of combines all the concepts I'll be talking about this week. So today's part two. We're going to cover some of the concepts. There's a lot of different skills I want to introduce in the Subtle Changes course, but we're going to look today at simple things like weight change or weight shift, leg orientation, and point of origin. This course is also going to get into effort shape for belly dance, but I'm not going to talk about that in the demo today. So let's get started. Yesterday we talked just briefly about angle. So our transition from the skills for improv class happens around angle and plane. These are probably my most used and favorite concepts in the curriculum that comes from my Creative Variations course. And angle, you see it all the time. People use it without even thinking about it. And that's something we talked a little bit about last tutorial yesterday. But planes is really interesting to me because I think that people could get a lot more texture and variety in their dancing if they used this skill. So what I mean by planes, if you think about like scientific diagrams of the body, they divide the body into a few different areas. I won't always remember the scientific names for them if I'm not looking at the paper, but we have the plane here, and we most commonly are using things like the flat hip circle or traveling movements, things that move horizontally, we can consider to be on that plane. We have the idea of the plane going vertical, but it's cutting this direction. So things like vertical figure eights, arm waves, dragging motions, and again, a certain sense of traveling could fit into that. We also have vertical on this plane that's cutting either through the body or is happening parallel to the body, and that comes in with things like one-hipped vertical circles, vertical hip movements, shoulder lifts, anything that has a direct up and down that's moving either center through the body or sort of parallel to that center line. So I'm going to show you just part of a combo from the Wednesday class coming up that also happens in the Mashaal choreography, because I love this one and it has really a lot of texture. So we're going to look at that a little bit today. But I want us to practice with some of these concepts first. So if you're just joining us, I'm talking about some concepts from my upcoming spring classes. We're looking at things from my subtle changes classes. So we just talked a little bit about angle and plane. We're also going to practice some ideas in weight shift and leg orientation today. So a really simple way to look at this is something like our basic hip drop or basic Egyptian, or there's 1,000 names for this. And the most familiar version that people have is usually that the weight is mostly on the supporting leg, but maybe you're used to doing it where the plumb line drops down in the center, meaning you have basically even weight. You could also do just a little subtle thing where you're putting all the weight here and then shifting back, forward, back, forward, back. We'll look at things like that. You can also change this basic movement, the way that it looks, and it's just the texture that you're using depending on what's happening in the music by changing the placement of the leg, right? So sometimes we might cross, sometimes we might put the leg out and then we might shift where the weight is. This usually works more with upward motions, so that if we're going up and all of our weight's here, we have a little bit of a lean, and then we might temporarily put the weight on that leg in order to push up. I really like to play with this, especially in the sort of call, response, little tick, tick, tick parts of melody progressions where you're starting to get that dun, 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 bum, bum. So I shift the weight around. I shift what exactly is happening in the hip. So we'll get some practice with that. I'm just briefly introducing the concepts for this tutorial. Oh, and then point of origin is, I talked just briefly about it yesterday. The simplest way we can think about this concept is where the movement is happening in the body. So for a shimmy, our basic shimmy usually happens in the hips. We might think about it as being generated from different places, which I'll talk about in just a second, but basically where it's happening, where the action is seen, and then changing where the action is in the body. Right? So something simple coming from hips to the chest. Or like I said, with undulations, or you could do this with circles, having it in the pelvis, or in the torso, in the upper body, or moving through the whole body, or doing something with the arms, or doing something with the hands. There's some of the movements we can isolate more to different parts of the body. And some of these concepts aren't applicable to all of our fundamental movements. But we can play and kind of explore the concepts. So we'll look at that. We'll look at weight shift, planes, point of origin, and where our legs are. I'm just going to put on just a piece of music that has sort of even timing, hopefully. You know how this music is. I think I found a sha'abi piece that will hopefully stay consistent, that'll allow us to practice some of this. And then we'll look at the Mashaal combo, which uses a lot of circles on different planes. So let's see here. Hello, everyone. Okay, we'll put on some music and we'll check this out. Okay, so just sort of basic, right? So let's start with a basic hip lift or hip drop, doesn't really matter. The weight's going to be predominantly on one leg. Out. Weight still on this leg. Tap, tap. Forward, side. Forward, out. Front of the body. Forward, side. Put the weight on that side. Hips going up. Weights on this side. Weights on the left now. Tap, 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 tap. Cross. Out. Cross. Out. Behind. Change the angle. Up on the back. Still going up on the back. Shift the weight. Push the hip, hip, hip. Slide, side to side. Step, step, step. Back, 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 back. You're sliding, but also allowing the hips to shift back. We can do this with the knees forward, right? We can do it with the legs wide, or we can bring them together. Side to side slide with the knee cross. Back slide with the knee cross. With the tap. Knees forward this time. This might create more of a bounce as you're tapping onto the heels. You can't take up the space in that bend. So tap the heel and forward. Back, forward, back. Out, forward, out. Okay, put your weight on one side. Let's look at shifting that weight, but keep your column over this leg as much as possible. So that you're putting weight there, but the column is trying to stay. Okay. If you're just joining us, let me back the music up here a second. Hello, if you're just joining us. Oh, hi Anna, thanks for joining. You can watch me slide, it's okay. You might feel like dancing a little bit in your chair, that's cool. So we're looking at some concepts for my upcoming spring classes. We just briefly went over how weight shift and leg orientation or leg position can work together. There's one more element of this that we're going to talk about and get some practice with in these classes, that is foot position. So I think a lot of us are used to learning fundamental movements structured with the legs go in this position, the foot is on releve and the foot is on flat, and we only move in a certain plane of direction. But what really interests me in the movement of Rakshaki and creating individualization is playing with that fundamental movement and changing those elements. So one of the things you might see me use a lot, instead of doing 1 foot releve, 1 foot on the ball, I'll do both foot flat. So that one's up, one's down, or both are down. I also tend to change the weight with that, or change first the leg orientation. So like we were just doing, little taps, or changing that position of the leg, crossing to be a little bit more coy during certain parts of the music, and then doing, stuff that's a little bit more grungy, if you will, kind of being out to the side. And then I'll play with that sometimes. It depends on what's going on in the music, right? But we change the foot position, it changes the look. Then we can add in weight on top of that, where maybe we're doing a little bit of a slide, and instead of shifting our weight side to side, we're shifting it out and back, or flat. It's really subtle. That's why it's called subtle changes. It doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be the grandest impact, but when we're doing certain pieces of music and we want to create a little bit more texture, it's nice just to have these little tools. We don't have to throw them all in at once, right? But eventually we start to learn to sort of subconsciously layer them together so that you have slides and weight shifts and different changes with the feet happening, and you're using angles, and you're using levels, and then it becomes like, a whole integrated textural sensation. Okay, let's look at the Mashaal combination that I'm going to be using in our Wednesday night class. We're going to look at some of the components of this that I'll be talking about in the Monday night subtle changes class, but we're actually going to use this combination as a whole in our Wednesday night class because it's a little bit complex, and it's probably my favorite combo in the song. So we're not going to do the whole thing here because it takes a little while just to get it memorized, but I'm going to show you some of the concepts. We're first going to look at plane. So I want you to know that we're using circle as our base movement, and we're going to use it in different parts of the body, and we're going to change the plane. So we'll start by doing circles here, right, on the horizontal plane. We'll switch to doing a circle on the vertical plane. And then our circles will be sort of tilted so that instead of doing flat, they're going to twist, and they're going to sort of rise and fall. So they have a little bit of a tilt, and they also have a twist so that the hip bones will be moving. In the combinations class, we'll do the turning versions of this, but just for this tutorial, I'll try and keep it all facing the same direction to make it simple. So let's just get through that much, and then we'll try it with music. So if you can't come up onto the balls of your feet very easily, just stay low, it's fine. We're going to stretch up nice and tall, and we're going to go right, left, right, left. We're going to do 4 of these circles. 4. You're going to step out, push that hip down, slide the hip sideways, and then bring it up, in, make a circle with the hand. We're going to actually have a veil in this choreography, so you'll cross the tummy. But for now, you can think about the circle moving from the hips to the hand and then crossing over. So it'll look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8. Just changing that. And then the next thing we'll do is to push, push. So the easiest way to do this on one facing would be to keep your left leg flat and then come up onto the releve here so that it's pushing your hip up towards your ribs, twisting, and then you can release that foot and step. Step, step. So it's just going to look like that. It's going up and twist, up and twist. And then we're going to step back and do little shoulder rolls. Let's try just this part with music so you can see what it looks like at full time, and then we'll break down the next pieces. How are we doing here on time? We're good, okay. So pulling up, 1, down, out, in, flip that hand, twist, step back, hand up. Then you're going to lean forward, 2, 3, 4, hips, drop, drop, circle with the hips. Hopefully you can hear that. It seems a little bit quiet on this end. I'm doing the best I can with the phone position here. So after we've done this little drop, drop, your hips are going to slide sideways, back, around, and in. So we're using this horizontal circle, but we've changed the leg position, right, from our normal space. We're in our showgirl or our basic home position, and we're letting the upper body sort of tilt in opposition to that movement. So let's try the combination once more from the top. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and take your time, up and in, flip, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The left foot's going to be forward, and you can play this up and be very cute, right? Just tilt. I like to have my hands here and here. And you're going to make a little shoulder circle. It's going to be vertical. You can go front or back. It doesn't really matter. And then drop, drop. Twist the hips around so that your weight ends on the right, so that you can step out and do more flat circles. Let me see. I think I can adjust this here. Okay, we'll try this one more time, and then I'll save my last little parts. Hi guys, thank you for joining. I'll say it one more time. If you're just joining us, I'm going over some concepts from my upcoming spring series. Specifically today, I'm talking about the Subtle Changes course, but we're looking at a combination that will appear in the Wednesday combo class, as well as part of the Mashaal choreography that will be Tuesday nights. So you'll find some of this content in each of the classes, but it will appear in different ways, and you'll get to focus on different areas. Like Monday nights, there's a class on improv, and then there's a class on taking fundamental movements and learning how to create more texture and variety with them. And then we have Mashaal choreography class, and then there's a combinations class, because people keep asking me for drills. So we'll get to practice the concepts, the skills that we're learning in the other classes in a more repetitive way, because I know some people like to learn that way. And then Thursdays, I'll probably talk about this on Friday. We're going to go over more like staging and performance ideas and look at like eye line and different kinds of presentation skills. But today right now we are working through part of the Mashaal choreography, we're working through part of the Mashaal combo. to demonstrate some of the skills like plane and weight shift and leg orientation that we've been talking about today. So if you missed it, you can go back and watch the recording. It'll be up after we finish the tutorial. And I also have some demos up on Facebook and YouTube for some of the concepts we're talking about this week. So let's get back into the Mashaal combo that we're just working on. We're starting with horizontal circles to the right. 2, 3, 4, and out. In, flip the hand, twist. Step back. Shoulder circle, 1, 2, 3, 4, hips, down, down, out, and now step, 2, 3, 4, shoulder circles, vertical. Okay, this last piece, what's going on there? This last piece of the combo, after we step out, we're going to do horizontal hip circles. We're going to step around. Actually, we're going to turn. We're not going to work on that today. So for now, we can just step back. We'll move the circles into our shoulders, frame the hip, and then do a vertical hip circle. So we've gone from horizontal, da, 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 da. We've stepped out, so we've changed weight and leg orientation and plane. Then we're going to go into these vertical twisting circles, which in the combo will actually go around us. And then we've moved the point of origin, so the circle will go into our shoulder. Change planes and origin again. It'll change, kind of stay on the same plane, but we'll move around ourselves. And then the very last bit of the circle is going to end vertical. So it fits really nice in the music. It's a longer combo. I know it takes a while to sort of memorize all the different bits and pieces. You'll get practice with that either Tuesday nights in the Mashaal choreography workshop, which is more like a choreographic framework, or the Wednesday combo class, because we're going to use this combo a few times. Let's go through just a couple more times. I'll put it on repeat. Hopefully it is loud enough. I know it's a little bit far away from the phone, but we'll try our best here. So, okay. Step out, hand circle, twist, twist, step back, bring the hand up, lean, circle with the shoulder. Drop, drop, circle, step out, turn around yourself. Bring that right foot forward. One more time. Horizontal. Twist. See if you can try and turn around yourself with this one. Bend forward. Drop, drop. Release that left foot, step. Okay, so I know doing this live is definitely, or doing this on Instagram is a little bit different than working in a class situation where there's like actually people there and we can stop and break things down. But I did make a much simpler practice video for you that will be on YouTube in about an hour or two, Central Time. It'll be released at 3 p.m. So you can go and check that out and just practice some basic concepts in angle, size, direction, speed, a little bit of plane and weight shift. And then if you want to see like a full out demo of the concepts, you can go over to Facebook and see the little dance that I put up yesterday. We'll have another video. What is today? Today is Thursday. How did it get to be Thursday already. I still thought it was Wednesday. What's going on with my brain? Okay, so yeah, tomorrow will be the next demo where we'll be looking at, or the next tutorial rather, we will be looking at concepts in expression and staging for the Friday night class. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed this. See you around.